Hello, it's Mark Atwood here. Mark Atwood Show, Adventures in the Cosmic Suit, back in the kitchen. Don't ask me why. Well, the other room is very messy. I need to tidy it up. But I keep putting it off. We all do that, don't we? Links below this video. This video is about, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Where 5G is an extremely important subject, and it's something that thankfully we have some amazing people in this world whose job it is to go and hold people like the government to task. And I'm joined by Karen Churchill. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Mark. Good to be with you today.
Yeah, well, it's my pleasure. Now you messaged me, I think it was on Telegram, and said, we need some help here to get more people to come down to London, because you've been fighting this case for 3 years, correct?
Yes, that's right, Mark. Yeah, late 2019. I was campaigning since early 2019 when we went to the local councils asking for the precautionary principle after I looked into 5G. And it was later that year where I teamed up with Vicky, and we realized that we needed to take a case because the local councils were not looking beyond policy. And actually in law, they have responsibilities. They have a duty of care, and they're listening to a policy to adhere to a guideline that is not adequate to protect the public from health effects.
Sounds familiar. Tell us a story about why is this thing taking 3 years? What is it that you're about to do? What do you need help with?
Yeah, well, a judicial review process, which is a legal action against the government. The first stage is you have to present the problem to them. They have to respond. Then you apply for permission to be heard. And so that process takes quite a long time to go to and fro with the evidence, what the grounds are of the case that you're bringing against the government. The first stage was that we were refused permission, and then the second stage we took it to the next level of court and we were refused again, and then we had to appeal, and finally the appeal judge said, no, there is a case to answer here, but on this ground, not this ground. So they reduced the number of grounds that we were challenging the government on, but nonetheless, the grounds that we've been granted for the court to hear are the lack of transparency, the lack of monitoring, and most importantly, the failure of the government to inform the public of the risks. So we had our court hearing date in December, and really we battled against the snow, the train strikes, and then finally on the day, really unfortunately, Michael Mansfield, who's our leading barrister, had a fall on the way to hospital, which needed him to go in A&E. It wasn't serious, but he did need checking over, which interrupted with the timing of the hearing. So we went in front of the judge, and she adjourned the case until February the 6th. The good news was she's given us extra time. The hearing was originally on the 13th, laid out for a day, and she said, I think I'm gonna need more time to decide this one. And she suggested 2, and the government wanted 1, so we've ended up with a day and a half hearing. So it usually starts at 10:30, but we'd like everybody to be at the court on the 6th or 9:30 onwards. So that presence is felt, because we've had over 3,000 donators, and as we campaign on the street, back in 2019, a lot of people hadn't heard of 5G, but when we give out leaflets now, or when we give leaflets to people living near a mast, I would say 7 out of 10 people know what it is and they don't want it for a number of reasons, but health risks being one of a number of reasons. So we know that we represent a majority in some ways of those that do know about it. And the judge and the arriving defendants need to see and feel and know that this is a public interest case and there's many, many people behind it. So that presence will make a big difference on the day.
Yeah. It's funny though, isn't it? There's a lot of apathy when it comes to this sort of thing, because people behind are like, it doesn't really matter. I mean, look, everybody watching, my personal view is that 5G is extremely dangerous, and it is a weapon. That's my personal view. That's my opinion. I also think what the potential danger for 5G is far worse than anybody can imagine. However, throughout this last 2 or 3 year period, there has been stuff over this side related to Donald Trump's tweet about Apathy. And I also know in Ireland that the 5G rollout, which was going full steam ahead in 2020, got stopped. But recently, an insider from the telecoms industry here took me into the hills and showed me new towers that have popped up overnight. Literally, they get installed at nighttime. And he pointed out the technology, and he said that's microwave technology. They've got a new way of transmitting 5G because they've just spent 2 years laying out all the wires in Ireland, the fiber optics. And what he said to me, and whether he's right or not, I do not know, but he said to me that all of that wiring was designed to feed the 5G to these new towers, which are then going to beam them out across the land. Now, I don't actually know. I'm not a telecoms expert. I don't actually know. All I do know is the governments of the world are completely criminal and complicit in harming the public worldwide. That's what I know for a fact. And although I am an optimist about where we're going and what's going to happen, I think people like Karen are extremely brilliant because throughout all of this, everything that's going on in the world, God wants people to stand up for us and for ourselves, wants to see us standing up for ourselves. And Karen's one of the people with some other people that are doing this on behalf of everybody that's a parent, everybody that's got a family, anybody that cares about the human race. Karen's standing up for that, which is why I think it's so important that we do our best to support actions like this, because you've given your entire life to this, Karen, for the last 3 years, right?
I have actually, yes, well, I have. Yeah.
Well, personally,
and going back to what you said about that mast popping up overnight, there are regulations, there's planning regulations. If we find a mast that's gone up without planning regulations, then we need to do something about it, because there are, the GPDO was changed in April last year, the General Planning Development Order, and it is quite complicated to understand the rules of when and when it's not required, but nonetheless, we need to dig into the details and not allow the bending of the rules. When we work at local council level, there's so many ways. They don't consult with the schools, they don't let the neighbours know. But when you drill down and you actually know the rules, there's things that we can do. At the beginning of the campaign, I was told you cannot stop a mast on health grounds. And this is the mantra across the country. And this is what the councillors tell the objectors. No, you can't stop it on health grounds. They show you the policy and they leave it at there. But last April, we did stop a mast on health grounds. The council admitted, yes, it's part of the material planning considerations. And just because that policy is there, if you reach a threshold of evidence that shows that this isn't safe, you can go beyond policy, because within the European Electronics Communication Code, there's clauses in there that says they have to reconcile the risks. Now, we've got 34, 40 councils that we've approached with this information, asking them to weigh up the risk. And sometimes it seems that they're refusing them on other grounds and that they are listening to us, but it's only Mendip Planning Board so far that has allowed themselves to go against the policy. But we have had that breakthrough, and other campaigners throughout the country can lean on that breakthrough and say, no, you have to weigh up the risks. And here is the evidence. The evidence is so strong. There isn't evidence that it is safe. There's evidence that there is risk. But again, when we're presenting that evidence of risk, it's best to really know the technical details of that so that they can't wriggle.
So all legal cases, you have to play within their system, play within their. I mean, this must be so frustrating.
It is. I can't wait till it's all over so I can expand out of the rigid rules. Sometimes it's really it's useful to have the set of rules and the set of procedures if they're followed. You know what I mean? And if there's a genuine interest in the overall picture rather than using technicalities to defend one's position. And the thing when you communicate with council, you either get 3 minutes in a meeting, we've raised petitions of hundreds of people, and they say, oh yes, that means you get 20 minutes at the meeting. But there isn't the real true collaboration and opportunity to really sit down and thrash it out. You know, everything's reduced to clipped emails, unanswered points in emails, and short 3-minute bursts when you present your situation at either a planning meeting, a full council meeting. And likewise with the government, you write them, friends are writing to them, I'm suffering this at this location, and they write back and tell you what the science says. They don't say we'll come and investigate. And that's one of the aspects of our case. We've reported to the government that 7 people at one location have come away with typical EMF exposure symptoms, and they ignored it for the first few letters of before action. They call it fringe, they dismiss it, but are they looking? Are they looking and coming investigating what is happening here? Even the WHO admitting that there's hotspots in their latest Geneva, after their Geneva meeting in June last year, a report was produced by James Leck for the South African, and he's actually leading the group that UK is supposed to be part of. And they're actually experimenting with mitigating hotspots in Amsterdam. And they found if they, put some mesh or change the antenna, this one particular hotspot, all the indoor plants started to grow back better. So there you have an admission that in some circumstances, all this radiation is interfering to create peak exposures. Now, where does that leave pregnant women and fetuses that are especially vulnerable? Where does that leave our children? We don't know where these hotspots are. And the WHO is saying, look, we've all got to work together. Yep, there's problems in regulation. Yep, more people are being concerned. We've got to respond to this in a new way. But even that message hasn't come back to the people via the UK government. And it's this, withholding the true situation. I mean, South Africa recommending that these hotspot maps are made available to the planners and the public. At the moment, the exclusion zones aren't even made available to the planners. And there's certainly, you put an antenna on a rooftop, which affects the risk assessment of the people in the building underneath. And the telecoms companies aren't telling the employers, PS, your risk assessments may have changed now since we put this antenna on your roof. So the whole system needs revealing for its gaps and flaws. So there are many aspects to how we can challenge that. And the more the public get involved with knowing the detail and studying the detail and bringing that detail to the government and to the council, and get behind us doing that. If the only thing anyone can do is make a donation, then that is, we have a target of 250 or 183. But if we can reach that target, the team who are now well versed in all aspects of regulation, we can bring more cases for more people.
Yeah. I cover lots of things on my show, and I talk to people like Tarry by Janine, and we did a card reading on these masks 2 days ago, and she said most of them, they were lethal, but most of them are good. But we don't actually know, guys. I'm talking to the audience here. We don't actually know for real, and that's why it's so important that if you can get to London on these dates, just show up. If you can do it, please do it.
And as you say, we don't know what we're being exposed to, but I know that I have friends with electro-hypersensitivity who can't walk through town, who can't go into a supermarket, they can't go to a library, they can't go to a cafe. So whether it's 5G, 4G, 3G, 2G, people are suffering with the exposure of non-ionizing radiation. So, whatever happens in the future, however technology is turned around, it's not turned around yet. So
Yes.
we have to act now. And we
Yes.
have to do what we can now in response to what we're facing now, and then the future can take care of itself. And I'd be delighted if, behind the scenes, there has been a design of communication devices that is safe. But at the moment, I don't know that, and we can't hold back. And people are suffering and they're being ridiculed, and I care about that.
Yeah. I'm just going to share this. Can you see this website? Oh, I'm reverbing. So this is a website that explains the whole campaign, correct?
Yes, that's it. Actionagainst5G.org.
Yeah, and you've got all the details here. There's Michael Mansfield. He's done a lot of high-profile cases, hasn't he?
Yes, recently Grenfell Tower he was taking.
So there's a lot of information on the site, guys, and I've put the link below in the description to this, but it's also important to, if you can, help, because people like Michael Mansfield are not cheap. This is one of the ways they do it. I mean, unfortunately, we're just in the system where if you want to take somebody like the UK government to task, they're going to charge you a lot of money to do it, right?
We're very grateful to the 3,000 donors that have supported us thus far. But as you say, we need more money to keep going. And there are, beyond this case, there's gaps in regulation and evidence that we can bring. So that's lovely, Mark. Thanks for sharing that.
I'm just going to share that. I think it's this one. I'm just going to share that one, which is crowdjustice.com. 26 days to go, 184,000. I mean, that's an amazing amount to raise, but it's going to cost 250, right?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. So, just help out in any way you can. I'll see if there's any questions from anybody in the audience today. Anybody got any questions for Karen? No, they're talking about this. Plain Drifter says EE has a 5G map on their website and all the hotspots were the spots where the highest death counts were from. Yeah, well, be careful. This is YouTube. But yes, there is a link between that and that, as far as I'm concerned.
And again, this is where citizens' science can come in. If you suspect things happening in your area, drill down, get the detail, get the readings, collect information, and do it thoroughly and carefully, and then use that information. It's easy to get to the first stage of reaction to this subject and to jump up and down and complain. But the real work is getting together as a community and gathering the information and connecting the information up with the research and presenting a detailed perspective. Connect with other campaigners. We're connected with Safe Tech International on a Tuesday afternoon. There's a Sunday night group every other Sunday in the Southwest. There's a growing group in Coventry, and connect together and take action. We have to go beyond the immediate emotional reaction to this subject. And the great thing is, before 2019, there was so much work done by people like Dr. Erica Mallory Blythe from the International Commission of Biological Effects, people like Deborah Davis from the EH Trust. We have all the materials. We have a fantastic informative website called rfinfo.co.uk, which is full of campaign materials. So now we're in a very different position to 3 years ago. So we need to use the tools. We need to realize that it's us that has to do something in our communities. And in regard to the 6th and 7th, yes, please do come. It's very important that we're not seen as a fringe minority, because we're not. We know we're not, but that presence will demonstrate that fact. Yeah,
Well,
that's
strange noise. The microphone can't. It's just the way it works with. Yeah. So this is rfinfo.co.uk. Is this the right one? It is.
Yes, that's the one.
You know, and I've talked about this subject on the channel before, and I've talked about solutions as well. You know, what Karen and the gang are doing needs support. Please support it. If you can get to London that those days, please go there and just show your faces. That's all it is. It's not a big deal. Make a day of it. And make a day out. Go to the zoo
Well,
afterwards.
it was such a party in December because we got to meet all sorts of campaigners that we've been working with online. It was such a buzz to all be together, you know, and to have the chance to share in person. So that it was really uplifting.
Yeah, well, we the people is not just the American, it's a global thing. We have the power, but we only if we use it.
Yeah.
You know? And you know, I've got one of these. This is an EMF meter. I've been using this for a couple of years to measure stuff around my own house, but also I've been up to the towers and I've measured, and it goes off the charts. So I know people are saying in the comments, people are like 107 say that these are going to have harmonic frequencies coming out of them, but I'm measuring something that's not very nice. And,
Yes.
and you have the ability to do this. These are like 20 quid. You can get better ones, you know, but you know, start just
And the
because
difference, and again, and go to the council and say, look, the leaflet in my meter says that at this level, I'm going to get a headache and I'm going to feel sick. You know what I mean? I think it's around 4 volts per meter, 2 volts per meter. Now the government are telling me, you know, I'm not going to, I'm completely safe at that level. Why is there a difference? Why is there a difference between what my meter booklet is saying and what this government is saying? It's a very simple challenge that anyone can make, because that challenge, that is a fact. Your meter booklet will give you a different warning, and where that red beep goes off on your meter is in a very different level to where the government's non-red beep goes off. So that difference has to be highlighted. Another very simple way of communicating this is the government will say that the exclusion zone is around 50 meters for a 5G mast, and you're safe beyond the 50 meters. Well, the New Hampshire Commission, New Hampshire Commission, they looked at all the science over a year-long period. It was a legally ratified commission of, 13 epidemiologists and experts. They concluded that you need at least 500 meters setback to protect the public from the research they've already got. Now we have to realize they haven't done the research into the 5G millimeter waves. You know what I mean? They're assuming that the research from 4G and below applies, which to the lower range 5G it does to a certain extent, but there's still a ton of missing research. So even with what the research has got, it supports a 500 meter setback. And there was another paper done by Joshua Pierce. He was advising the telecoms companies, look, you need to set these things back from 500 meters because that's where it's going to cost you in liability if you don't do that. So again, this distance, comparing the distance between what the government are saying is safe and what these other groups of scientists are saying it's safe, is very powerful, because we all want to know how far from that thing am I safe or not safe? What are the risks within that zone, Yeah,
well, it's doing that again. I have to keep talking. Stop doing it. I'm still doing it. Well, I was with the telecom the other day looking at these things, and he said that the readings I was getting, we were basically being boiled from the inside. That's
right.
what he said. And
Do you know what the readings were, Mark? Do you know the figures?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
It was high.
Well, do send it to me when you know, so we can look at that.
Make some videos. I'll send you the videos because I'm being promised a video about the inside of one of their buildings showing all these 5G banks as well. So I'm waiting for that. Also, guys, look, there's a link below for the Organite that I've got on my phone. You just start looking into it and start taking it bloody seriously. Just because it's invisible, this is the thing. It's invisible, so people just forget about it.
And the other problem is the name. It's called non-ionizing radiation. The number of times that people say it can't do any damage because it's non-ionizing, it's a deceptive labeling. Just because it's not ionizing in the same way, but it doesn't mean to say it's not bioactive. It is bioactive. It affects the cell membranes and the permeability of the membranes. It affects all sorts of mechanisms. there's a heating elastic effect in the brain, which can affect your hearing, and the microwave hearing is a known defined effect at levels way below what the guideline level is. So we mustn't be allowed to be deceived by these labels.
No, totally. It's a very pragmatic thing to be taking these precautions and to just stand up for people that are doing this work, you know, because it's just amazing. You know, one of the most amazing things about the last few years is I meet people like you who have just given it everything on behalf of everybody. You know, it's a thankless role, but it's amazing that you've been called to do it. And again, guys, just please go and support this. Now, there was a video that you wanted me to play, Karen. Shall I play that?
Yes, that would be great, Mark. Yeah.
Just dig it out. I think it's this one. Is this the right one?
Yep, that's the good.
Okay.
Just hot off the press.
I'm going to play this for you guys.
Can you go full screen, maybe?
I will do some other settings.
Hi, everyone. We're here today to rally the action for the 5G court case, which is going to be taking place on the 6th and 7th of February at the Royal Courts of Justice in the Strand. It's easy to find. Please be there, 9:30. We're really looking to get a massive group of supporters. This is our chance. We've seen thousands of people at the rallies, and we want everyone to turn up. Please share this video as well amongst all your friends. And yes, over to the next person.
When you think of 5G, it's an interesting question to ask yourself, who do you hold responsible? And if I was to answer that question, I would say it's very easy to say, oh, the government are responsible. But in reality, it is you who are responsible. And the best way to deal with the whole 5G problem is to hold yourself responsible and take it from that perspective. Because when you empower yourself to make the change, it will happen. But if you're leaving it up to the government, you could probably wait a very long time. So at this moment, collect your thoughts and reflect upon who is responsible for what is happening with the 5G rollout. And don't blame the telecoms companies. Don't blame the military. Don't blame the conspiracy theorists. Don't blame all of these people. Look at yourself and know that you're letting it happen. If you don't turn up to this event and show your support and stand out there and be counted and say, yes, I'm a responsible British citizen and I know my rights. And as soon as I let the government have them, I don't have them anymore. So this is a very important opportunity for you to be a human being, be a British citizen, and know what it means to be all of those things. Thank you, and I hope you will go.
I've seen and met, in some cases, tens of thousands of people at the rallies, which is fantastic, but very rarely has anyone visibly protesting against 5G. Yet when I speak to them on an individual basis, most people are very aware and very concerned about smart cities, surveillance, and all the things that 5G is going to be used for. If you don't want those things to happen, you need to be there. You need to show support in whatever ways you can for the hearing that's taking place on February the 6th and 7th. There's a famous saying that 9/10 of success is showing up. What else can I say?
Thank you, Amanda. Yes, I think it's very easy for all of us. We're all busy. We've all got lots of things going on in our lives, and there's lots of issues that we're all dealing with at the moment. But I think it's a time in this case to think, what 5 things can I do? Can I book a day off? Can I make sure that I'm available to be there? And if it's really not possible, which 5 people can I ask to be there? How can I spread the word about this? Can I print off that leaflet or that social media post, which is available on Action Against 5G on the blog page? And can I print that leaflet off and send the dandelion message around to at least 5 people and ask them to spread it to 5 people and ask them to put it in the hands of people that are talking about these issues? And yeah, just think along the lines of what can I do rather than what can't I do. So I'll hand over to Kate.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you. Industry will do whatever it darn well pleases, whatever is in their interest for growth, competition, or profit. The 2 ingredients not considered are us, our needs and desires, our true needs and desires, and the natural world. No one informed us about the health risks. No one checked with the natural world. No one. No one looked into or asked us whether we want cell towers in front of our homes and everything and everyone connected to the internet 24/7. If we want to have a say about our future, not only our home, our neighborhood, our country, but all of life, we need to show up at this pivotal UK case. If not you, who?
Thank you.
Good job. Great video.
Oh, good. Thanks to Sean, who's our editor and creator, putting it together. It's a spontaneous moment during a international meeting the other day when we were brainstorming how to get the message out. So,
Well, I hope that this helps in some way. I'd be there myself if I could. I'm.
oh, do come, Mark. Do come.
I can. I will.
Brilliant.
Not a long flight. I should. Why not? Yeah.
A quick hop over. Yeah.
I'll look into that. Yeah, it's just kids and cats. That's my only issue. The getting together as well is so important. This is why I've done so much traveling recently after 2 years being locked up. Talking of kids, there's my daughter. I can't emphasize how powerful it is when you get together. I think I've quoted this. I've badly quoted this line from the Bible a few times. I think Jesus. There she is again. Sorry. I think Jesus said, "When 2 or more show up, then I will appear." And this is exactly my experience of touring America, going to the desert, and I'm going to Buxton in a few weeks. I've got a gig coming up in Manchester. These things are so important because when we get together on it, this is a spiritual war. Don't forget, in 3D, we've got 5G. It's all these 2 letter acronyms. We have to fight these things. We have to be seen to stand up. It's just and connecting together is extremely powerful. I'll give you a story about this. Actually, I used to work in the waste industry, and I got a phone call one day from the BBC because I actually set up a magazine for the skip hire industry about 15 years ago, which is quite amusing. I actually created it to get on Have I Got News for You as a joke. And then it went on and on and on, and it became quite a successful thing. So inadvertently, I became a spokesman. And the BBC rang me up and said, "You've got to go on the Jeremy Vine show because the government were about to bring in a tax on what are known as fines, which is like sifted out stuff that most waste management companies will put into landfill, right? And the tax that they were about to put on it was going to drive them all out of business. Okay. And they were doing it completely illegally because they brought it out. They announced it the night before it was going to be implemented.
Yes.
So there was no process. There was no review. There was nothing. So I went on the Jeremy Vine show, and I argued against, what was his name? Lord somebody. I did an argument against this tosspot who's a member of the House of Lords, And then and it got repealed. The law got repealed 2 hours later after my interview.
Really?
And it was just because I knew what I was going to say, and I was talking about how it was going to put so many businesses out of business, and that's why they were doing it. They were doing it so they could swoop in and take over, because waste management is one of the biggest industries in Britain. It's billions and billions of pounds, but it's fragmented. It's one of the few industries where, you know, nobody's got more than 10% of the market, and I think that's Biffa. And
Right.
because of that, they don't like that, because they can't control it. You know,
Oh, I see.
and the point I'm trying to make is that you can make a difference by standing up and having and doing some research, becoming knowledgeable in something and taking it fucking seriously.
Yes.
No, we're not.
Well, there's very much at the beginning, it's like, oh, you know, why are you even doing this? Because you won't be able to do it. You know, the number of people that told me that, well, you won't be able to stop it. It's coming anyway. Oh gosh, that's somebody at my door.
All my interviews, don't we?
I'll let them keep knocking.
Well, you know, people do. I mean, I've done a couple of videos about this and Organite and how it helps, and EMF and stuff like that. But it gets really low views. People just aren't taking it seriously. Yeah, that's my.
Yes. No,
everybody's
you're right. There's not many people I know that actually own a meter. The people who are suffering own a meter because they definitely need one, you know, and they can feel it before they need a meter. I've got a friend, she is a meter, you know, she'll know, and I've got the meter in my hand, and she knows before I do where it's up and down. You know, once your body responds to an overload, or you have metals in your body, or vulnerability, or we don't know, some people seem to have more reaction than others. But once that reaction is in place, wow, you know, your life has changed forever. And you're like a refugee, because there's so few areas where you can go without feeling sick. And so we need to understand and give empathy to people. If people say, oh, please, can you turn your phone off? Or if you're running a public meeting and everybody's got the phone on, we need to start to understand, look, for this meeting, do we need our phones on? No, let's turn them off. We don't need to live stream at this moment. We can live stream afterwards. We can take photos in flight mode. But, you know, it's starting to understand even at where we are now, and then we can deal with the future. But we need to recognize that we don't need this exposure. Can you turn your Wi-Fi at night? Can you connect with Ethernet? Can you make sure you don't put your mobile phone in your back pocket? You know, for men, it's lethal to have it in there. 2 hours in your back pocket and your sperm count is a half. Now, fertility clinics have got all these problems and showing that people have got falling fertility. Nobody's making the connection.
Well, you know, if I see my boys with the phone down here between their legs, I'm like, oi, I want children, get it. And you know, we are boiled. We are boiled frogs. This is how you boil frogs. You just turn the heat up gently until it's too late for the frog to notice that it's about to die. Okay, that's where we're at. And pragmatically, please, guys, share this out with anybody you know in London, anybody that's awake, and just ask them just to show up for these guys. And if I can be there, I will be.
That would be great if you can, Mark. Look forward to meeting you.
That would be nice. So, look, anything else to add? Because I think we've covered it.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything for the moment.
Well, thank you for doing what you're doing, and thank all the other people that are working with you. And on behalf of everybody, thank you for standing up to tyranny, because that's what this is.
You're welcome, Mark. Really good to meet you. Good to be with you today.
Thank you, Karen. Take care. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Weekend.